Okay, thank you again. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, okay, no worries. So anyway, so in the past, we've had the question, which was basically what should Arlington County focus on on behalf of women and girls in Arlington County. I would like to change that question. I think we should, unless anyone violently disagrees, I think we should keep the same format of having an easy sort of voting method, which using balls or poker chips. The first year we did toothpicks, something to drop in jars. I think that works well. But I would like to change the basic question. And that's sort of the main thing I'd love to brainstorm about today. And I think once we have the basic, oh, my husband's mowing the lawn, that's why he's closing the door. Once we have the basic question of what we want to ask, then we can start thinking about what the jars would be, what the optional answer options would be. And I think we can include the broader group in that. And then the second element that we had last year, which was really, really successful, which we didn't have so much in previous years, was the sticky note board where people wrote what's the best thing about being a woman or girl, and what's the hardest thing about being a woman or girl. So I would like to spend a few minutes talking about that at the end of the meeting. I'm sort of tempted to just stick with the exact same thing just because it went so well, and presumably we'll have different, most people will be different, and even if they're not, maybe they would have something different to say a year later, but I'm certainly not super wedded to that idea. So with that, does anyone have any ideas on what you think our informal survey should be? Oh, someone else is waiting. Hopefully Jax.
Hello, who just joined?
It's Jax.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Hi, Jax.
Sorry, I had some trouble getting in because my Microsoft account is like logged into my work one, and I can't log out because it's my work device. So I'm sorry I have to join by phone. I hope that's all right.
No worries.
Yeah, no worries. We're glad you're here. So we have, I don't know if you can see, we have Jinder, Marguerite, Courtney, this is Arbra talking, and Helen, who is our high school participant. So Jax, I was just sort of reiterating what you already know, that what we did last year. And then I'll just say that I think we should have a different question, because we've basically asked the same question the last 3 years with slight variations of which of these issues, which of these issues do you think is most important? So I'd like to play with that a little bit while keeping the same format of having the vote with a jar. So I wanted to just brainstorm about that first, and then later we can talk about how to duplicate or build on the success from last year. It's weird feedback of the sticky note board.
I'm sorry, Marguerite, I think the feedback's coming from your end. So if you can mute until you're ready to say something. I don't know why.
Yes.
Use the account or something.
Okay, I don't have any noise or background here, but that's okay. I will, I'll go back on mute. I did want to say something. That's fine.
Of course, I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. Arbor was asking for suggestions. Arbor, I'm not sure how to incorporate it, and it may not even be a good idea, but I think it would be nice to hear two things from people. One would be, what is it that they would, if they had one thing that they could say to the board or ask the board to do on behalf of women in the county, what would that be? And the other thing is the same question about us as a commission. what would they like to see us work on? So I'm not sure how to phrase that to make it interesting and turn it into a vote situation, but in any event, I just thought, and maybe it's not for the vote, maybe it becomes something to add to the sticky notes. I don't know. I just thought those were two good categories. Thanks.
Yeah, no, and the feedback seemed to go away. And is it me? I don't even know. I'm not on my phone, but thank you. I think that I was thinking along the same lines, I will say. So great minds think alike. So let me, I just started taking notes. So let me sort of phrase that. What would it be? What issue or basically what would you like the county to do on behalf of women and girls in Arlington? Is that accurate, Marguerite?
Yes.
Okay. I think that sort of could be our question, and then the tricky part will probably be figuring out what our options are in terms of answers. I don't think we want to do that as a sticky note, just because I think it's too hard. I think that requires, like, the whole thing that made the sticky note successful, I think last year was sort of an easy question, and everyone has an answer to what's great and what's hard.
I agree. It was free form, and that
Yeah.
allowed people to do whatever. Yeah.
And also just sort of like a little light. Like, some people put serious answers,
Yeah.
other people put, okay, so what would you like the county to
Yeah.
do on behalf of women and girls in Arlington? And I think, like, asking what they would want the commission to do is a little bit duplicative, just because, not that we are the county, because obviously we all know we're not, but we are sort of part of the county, and that's what we're trying to do, is get, provide feedback and back and forth. Okay, so that's one option for a question. And any other thoughts?
I just want to jump in real fast, Arbra, and say that I am here for the 15th and 17th, but I won't be able to do anything on the 16th. Yeah, but I'd love to help out if you guys need any extra hands.
Yeah, so Friday evening and then Sunday, mostly sort of Sunday morning. That's great. Okay, I will write that down. Okay. All right, any other thoughts on the question? Like, I was thinking of making it a little bit more even pointed towards the current administration in DC, and say something like, what can Arlington County do to make women and girls feel safe?
Arbra, no, thanks for saying that, because in my head, I'm debating whether I wanted to bring that up or not. I think it would be really good to know any sort of impact women and girls are having, whether that is losing Medicaid coverage, just as an example, and that could then help us determine perhaps targeted areas that we may need to support.
Okay.
Are yes and no questions off the table?
No. What you got?
Well, one of my ideas was something like, have you or someone you know experienced maybe gender-based discrimination in Arlington? Or something like, in one word, how would you describe the status of women in your community? That's a not yes or no. That's still short form, but people could be like creative still. And we'd get a lot of like varied feedback on that one.
Okay. I like that in one word. How would you describe the status of women in your community? And maybe that could be our sticky note. Do people think that's easy enough to answer?
I do, and I think that could go alongside the voting on the table, and we have pre-cut pieces of paper that they would just write the one word and stick it in a jar.
Yeah, I was also
Well,
thinking, like another short form question we could do is like, what resource do you wish existed for women locally?
Okay, well, sorry, there's weird feedback. What resource do you wish existed?
Oh, I was going to say, what resource do you wish existed for women locally? And that way we can pull both like resources that are wanted and also pull if there are resources available that the community is not aware about.
Okay, I like
Yeah.
this. These are great ideas. Okay. So I'm
Barbara,
gonna, yeah, go
Barbara,
ahead.
Jack had also mentioned yes and no questions. I think those lend themselves to our survey mechanism very well. So anything we're able to turn into is it a yes or a no, would be a good thing.
Yeah, I can think of like a billion yes or no questions, but I can only think of like a few short form ones or what was the other idea that I had? Maybe like in one word or one phrase, like what issues affecting women aren't being talked about enough, or what's the biggest barrier women face here in Arlington? Or even a cool one would be like name a local woman who inspires you, and that way we can like build our bank of local women that are doing great things in Arlington County.
I love that. Okay. These are awesome. All right. So I think we should take a couple of these and use them for the sticky note board. And then we don't have to use the same thing as last year. And I would say if we could have even 2 sticky note boards and one could be in one word, how would you describe the status of women and girls in Arlington? Or we could say in your county. But I think since this is the Arlington County Fair, we put Arlington, and then also name a local woman who inspires you.
Yeah.
I think that one would be impressive on a sticky note board because it will get people to stop and read the names that are up there too. And it gives a little bit of recognition to the women who have been identified.
Yeah, and then we can say you should nominate them for Women of Vision.
Literally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hi, Adriana.
Hello, sorry, I'm just relocating.
Oh,
to have a
okay.
little bit. Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you. Sorry, I was late.
No worries. So Adriana, let me know when you are situated and we can sort of give you a quick recap of where we are. But okay. Is now good?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So are you familiar with the Commission on the Status of Women table that we've had at the Arlington County Fair the last few years, 4 years?
Yes, I am. That's actually where I learned about you all, and whoever was at the table invited me to join like 2 years ago. So finally I'm trying to get involved.
Oh, yay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a special meeting to do some planning ahead for what we'll do at the fair. So we're just talking about we like the format we've done the past few years of having a sort of a casual survey. And then last year we had a really successful sticky note board where people wrote the question for the sticky note board was one side was name the best thing about being a woman or girl, and the other side was name the hardest thing. So we're also coming up with a question that people would answer, and we would have jars that people put chips in. So what we've got so far is, have you or someone you know experienced gender-based discrimination in Arlington? And that would just be a yes or no. So we could have, yes and no jars. What resource do you wish existed for women locally? I really like that one for the survey. And we could, we would have to come up with 5 or more. There's nothing that says we have to keep it to 5, but we would have to give them options, I think, just to get better participation. The other one, in one word, how would you describe the status of women and girls in Arlington? I love that for the sticky note. Name a local woman who inspires you. Love that for possibly, we could do sticky note boards on both sides of the table, maybe. We had also tossed around, how would we put it, gender? Have you or someone close to you been impacted by, we could just say the Trump administration, or
I wouldn't say the Trump administration.
okay.
In the current climate, have you or someone you know, as a woman or girl you know, been impacted by administrative policies or something? I wouldn't call out the Trump info because that will just make the board and others nervous.
Okay, so have you or someone close to you been impacted by recent policy changes
That's good. That's generic enough.
at the federal level? Federal or
At the
state level?
executive level.
How about federal or state level?
Yeah.
That broadens it.
Okay.
And Arbor, I still like the one, what one thing would you want to see the board do on behalf of women and girls in Arlington, if we can figure out?
You do have that. What would you like the county to do on behalf of women and girls in Arlington? Sorry, that's the first one I wrote down. Okay.
Or maybe we can say something along the lines of like, what change would most improve women's lives in Arlington?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's pretty similar to what resource do you wish existed for women locally?
Yeah, that's very small.
But I'll write it down. And then maybe we can start. Well, I'm just going to be quiet for a minute and let other people weigh in. Sorry, what'd you just say, Jax? For like
the one I had said was oh shit.
We have what resources existed.
Oh yeah, what resources, and then where do you see strong leadership by women in the community? I think that one. Did I say that one already?
Well, we have name a local woman who inspires you. But you said you had another one.
Yeah.
You have
name a local woman that inspires you. What resource do you wish existed for women locally? I need to write these down. Oh, maybe how about something more open-ended, like what does women's empowerment mean to you?
Okay, getting esoteric.
I don't remember half the things I say, but
okay. So
I do tend to like the ones that are more specific rather than open-ended, because we have not, doesn't mean we shouldn't try again, but we haven't had a lot of success with open-ended survey types of questions. Possibly because people don't want to take the time to both think and write, and they're managing kids and stuff they picked up and, all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, this might be like a stupid question, but have we thought about like what incentives we have for people to stop by like our booth? Do we have
Yeah,
anything
so
else?
we've had in the past, in addition to candy, which Marguerite always likes to have and is certainly a crowd pleaser, we have period supplies.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Adriana said the stickers, and yes, so this is all courtesy of Caroline. She gets a ton of stickers, including like feminist ones, but also cats and other random stuff. So we've been pretty set with the goodies. We've moved beyond my first time where I literally just put OB tampons in a bowl, and people were like grabbing them. And then men were like, wait, what are these? And I'm like, not candy. But no, so I assume we will do the period bags, like that have tampons, like high quality tampons and bags, because that plays in directly to the fact that we've been advocating with the board to get free period supplies in county bathrooms. And last year we had Plan B. We had these Julie things, which is Plan B. But that was just sort of random because my college son's girlfriend was a reproductive justice advocate and had a bunch of them that were extra. But that also fits into like, so many people are worried about access to birth control / abortion. Yeah, so that's what we've done. And I think, any additional thoughts along those lines were great. But yeah, and Adriana, thank you. I'm glad the stickers were a hit. Like I said, that's all Caroline. And I assume she'll do it again this year. But mostly, like, because it's the fair, it does need to be easy. And I think Marguerite's right. I don't think people are super into like nobody does our QR code survey. People don't really like post to a hashtag. So let's start brainstorming about what the potential answers would be to some of these questions. And we don't have to decide things tonight, but I think if we have a few like front runners and can narrow it down, then we would just need to decide, say, by like the July meeting. The problem is I will also not be at the June meeting. Is the July one, did we decide if July is going to be, Courtney, did we decide if July is going to be Zoom?
Let me check.
We didn't decide that at the last meeting. That doesn't mean that Caroline's not thinking that way, but she generally doesn't like virtual meetings, so I would doubt it since we didn't discuss it.
Yeah, sometimes we don't meet in July. Anyway, unfortunately, my schedule in both June and July, I think I probably won't be at the meetings. So anyway, okay. So I'm going to read through the ones we've talked about, and then please call out possibilities that we would put out 5 or 6 jars with options and then have poker chips for people to vote. So, okay, for the first question, what would our answer choices be for what would you like the county to do on behalf of women and girls in Arlington? I'll get us rolling. Free tampons in the bathroom. Anyone else? Marguerite, something about pay equity. Like, what would we want the county to do? There are, Adriana, in the schools, after much pushing on our part in the schools, there are, but not in like the libraries, community centers.
I always love questions about pay equity, and pushing the board as hard as we can. So let me think about how we could word that.
Yeah, what would it be like? I mean, what can the board do? I think this is such a useful exercise for us as well. Like, what is actually in the board's power? One thing.
Two things that are within their power. First would be making sure that they've done that they're doing that with county government jobs. So,
Okay.
you know, lead by example. The second thing is publish
So,
data, make it important for companies that are working out of Arlington, somehow elevate the status of the issue, whether that's asking companies to report or I'm not sure. I got to think through it, but because they're in charge of the county, companies that reside here should think it's important to the county board so that they elevate their own attention to it.
okay, so what I have is, again, question. What would you like the county to do on behalf of women and girls in Arlington? 1, free tampons in all bathrooms. 2, ensure 100% pay equity by gender for all county jobs. I added and published data, Marguerite, because I know that's important. And incentivize private employers to pay to
also focus on pay equity.
Okay.
Or to ensure pay equity.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'll put ... because we can massage that.
Yeah.
What about in terms of like women's health? What's a question we could put in there about that?
I think we will have had the guest speaker that Caroline was trying to arrange. Is it her friend that is a SANE nurse or doing something in the system? And from our talk with her, we can maybe figure out what is the pointed question to ask about. I don't know whether the question should be, you know, having an abortion clinic here in the county, so you don't have to go to Fairfax. I'm not sure what the question should be, but by the time we have the presentation and discussion with Carolyn's guest speaker, we will know that. So maybe that's one we could just put a pin in to get more info and phrase the question properly.
Okay.
Even Caroline might know how to phrase it right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll put a space holder. Sorry. Okay, so I can put a space holder about maybe something about reproductive health care, like make it available, make all, or at least information or something, provide easy to find information. And then I'll put an asterisk that we should change it. Anyone else have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, just like leading into the easy to access information, maybe something on like educational side of reproductive health care or just like women's health care in general, or I don't know, anything else that I feel like women might need. But yeah, any questions about like education, like educating the Arlington's women on maybe their rights or yeah, just healthcare stuff.
Make information. Okay, so this could potentially be 2 different ones. So the way I have it right now is provide all reproductive health care in county, or at the least make information, education about repro rights readily available. But that could also be divided into 2. But Ginger, you have any thoughts about like, should we put something in there about like Medicare, Medicaid?
Or if we just keep it broad, access to healthcare.
Okay, I'm going to put that as another one.
Yeah. What about access to affordable childcare?
Yeah, that's always a big one. But what can the county do?
I mean, if I were, I would ask them to, I don't know, maybe there could be some tax benefits for individuals or businesses that have or are willing to, you know, have daycares. And I don't, I know it was a complicated process, so I can't talk about, I don't know how that is now in terms of getting a license.
Yeah, I think it's been simplified a bit, but okay. How about expand incentives for employers to provide childcare for employees, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's what the Biden Secretary of Commerce did in the CHIP Act. Like anyone who got like money from that to expand their manufacturing had to provide childcare.
I'm sorry if this was mentioned already, but I think probably one of the biggest things Arlington County can do to improve the status of women is really expanding affordable childcare options and supporting working mothers, you know, so like investing in like subsidized childcare, flexible work programs, promoting those, giving tax benefits to businesses that offer those. And yeah, things like that.
Yeah, okay. So so that's what we were just talking about, Jack. So expand incentives for employers to provide childcare and flexible work or something. Flexible work options. Okay. So we have one on pay equity, we have one on menstrual equity, we have one as of now on reproductive health, which could be expanded to be broader health. We have one on child care. What are other issues?
Mental health.
Okay, what do we want the county to do?
Sorry, I don't know enough about what's available.
Maybe like safety can be a category. So like investing in safer public spaces and like stronger support systems for survivors of violence. So that could look like the county prioritizing investments in like prioritizing well-lit areas and like accessible reporting resources and survivor-centered services.
Okay.
I think we should be as specific. I like the category, but we should be as specific as possible. Otherwise, the county looks at that and says, well, we have doorways, we support doorways, we give some budget to doorways, we have Project Peace. So, I mean, that's an easy out for them because relatively speaking, we're a small county and we have those two big things going on. So I think we should get more specific in the safety category.
Okay. I'm gonna put an asterisk and let's move on because I think if we come up with our categories, then we can look back at them and maybe pick our top 2 or 3. Pick our top 2. I think that should be our goal. Okay. So the next question, which I think gets us really nicely to more specifics, is what resource do you wish existed for women locally? I'm putting abortion. What else? Like, so, like what resource, like that could be something for mental health, Ginger, like affordable therapy, mental health.
Good. And maybe this is where we also say rape kits in the county without traveling to Fairfax.
Yep. Okay. Rape kit. rape kits in county. Okay, so we've got affordable therapy / mental health. Safe space. Do we want one, Jax? Do we want one on safety?
Yeah, I mean, I like the safety idea, but I think in terms of resources, back to like your very first point, like in the health and wellness category, it'd be really great to see like a period equity initiative, so free menstrual products in the schools, libraries, and restrooms. And then
Well, they're
on
already
Ginger's
they're
point, like a
already in the
mental health
schools.
support group.
Yeah, the free period products are already in the schools, bathrooms, but they're just not in the county facilities.
Well, yeah, definitely having those, you know, that prioritized to be put in the county assembly, county buildings, because I know it's like on their docket or something like that, right? But it just hasn't been installed, or they're waiting for the devices or something along those lines.
Yeah, it just
But
has
also along Ginger's point, mental health support groups, like specifically inclined for things like postpartum depression, trauma recovery, or female domestic violence, things like that.
I like the postpartum depression because, yeah, okay.
You also have a comment on in the chat. Just be mindful that not everybody has access to the chat, so I'm not sure if Ms. Lopez could say her statement or she prefers to, and which is fine. Either one is fine. I can read what's in the chat, or if she wants to
She may.
review it.
Yeah, I was just my question was like more in regards to, you know, what rights like survivors of crime, particularly like immigrant survivors of crime, where accessing some services after they've been victimized doesn't necessarily, like, you know, it isn't always about their um what's it called, like it's not always necessarily about their immigration status, but more like the city's response to people who experience violence in the county. And so oftentimes, you know, immigrant communities, there's a lot of misinformation about what they have a right to access and what they don't. And so it really just is putting information about what their rights are as victims of crime.
Okay, so maybe better support / information
Mm-hmm.
for victims of violence,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of immigration status.
Right. Yeah.
And I like phrasing it like that, Arbora, because I think that holds true for more than just immigrants. People who have never experienced a crime, it's overwhelming once you do. And if it's a violent crime, I'm not sure anybody, your next door neighbor or anybody would know what they are entitled to. So that's a good one.
Okay. All right, what else? What other resources?
I don't know if this is, you know, with the recent federal jobs loss, if people need more support for career counseling or job placement services. I know some are available, but is there a need for more that's accessible?
I also had an idea along those lines, and this could be like leaning towards either youth or elderly, safe digital spaces, or actually, better yet, safe digital workshops that teach online safety, self-esteem, and like media literacy all together. And in the female aspect, it could be geared towards like protecting yourself, or what to do if you're a victim of revenge porn, something like that.
Okay. All right. So those are sort of different things, but what I wrote down was, okay. So I'm just going to read everything I have so far. What resource do you wish existed for women locally? Abortion care in county, rape kits in county, affordable therapy and mental health support groups. 4, better support and information for victims of violence regardless of immigration status. 5, employment search help. We would need to rephrase that. And then the next one is like, okay, I need workshops on, you said like digital literacy, self-confidence or self-esteem. So basically workshops on, okay. All right, so
Somehow can you get the focus on women in that question? Because it sounds generic as we've got it thus far. I support the notion of creating workshops and offering them free, but what makes this different than what any county resident would want?
yeah, I think same for employment search help. So for now, I'm just going to italicize them and say that we need to make women specific. Okay.
Another idea that's not exactly like very woman specific, but just in general, like financial literacy workshops might be something that people would want. But
Yeah,
that's
so
not
we
specifically
actually
for
did
women.
do one recently within the last couple of years. And we actually had a specific question on that, but we didn't get many people to fill it out. But can you be more specific? Because I think this is something that does often come up. So I think it's worth including, but maybe we just want to be a little bit more specific. Like, what would you want?
I'm not sure exactly, but like if I was someone who's looking for financial literacy training, I think more so, especially if it's targeted towards people who are younger and who probably, like people my age, like we don't really know a lot about financial literacy. So, I don't know. I don't really know how to make that any less generic or specific, but maybe like help in like how to invest your money, how to figure out what you need to save, and how to file taxes, things like that, where it's things that aren't always super obvious to younger people who are new to this type of stuff.
Okay, I think the investment one could be really interesting. Okay, let me write that down. And we didn't do that, right, with our past workshop. Targeted. I mean, especially because investing tends to be done much more by men than women. So I think that there is a natural reason why the Commission on the Status of Women would speak to that. Okay. Okay, I think this is a very good start. So I'll go back and read them, and obviously this is not done. We will finish this, but I want to sort of move on to our sticky note board, because I really like some of the questions that Jax came up with, and I'm hoping that other people do too. And we could just sort of say, okay, tentatively, this is what our sticky note board will be. And the two that Jax came up with that I think are great are, one would be, in one word, how would you describe the status of women and girls in Arlington? Any thoughts?
I like it. I'd say do it.
Yep, I think it's a great idea. We should definitely have it.
Okay, how about this? Do we think we should do that and also keep the one we did last year, which was right?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm so hyped on doing the name a woman who inspires you in the county, and so if we agree that we really like that one, then we have two. So the question becomes, do we want 3 sticky boards? I mean, last year's was fun, But I like these two we're talking about tonight enough to say if we don't think we can do 3 sticky note boards, then let's keep the 2 we've come up with, or that Jax came up with.
Okay, I agree. I don't think we should have 3 because we don't really have the space. So, any other thoughts, or should we go ahead and say, yay, we did it?
Yay, we did it.
Thumbs up. Adriana, Jax, Cinder. Okay, awesome. Yay. Okay, I think this is great. And so those are our sticky note questions. And then the only other thing, sorry. Okay. The only other thing that we have sort of still on the table is we do have a couple of these yes or no questions that we could include as a separate survey, although I feel like we're getting a little bit crowded. And those are, have you or someone you know experienced gender-based discrimination in Arlington? Have you or someone else close to you been impacted by recent policy changes at the federal or state level? But I feel like for now, let's sort of put a pin in those because we don't want to try to do too much.
Yeah, and Arbor, I think some of those questions I feel like could naturally come up as we're having conversations with individuals who stop by. And they say stuff and, you know, we can engage them in a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barbara, maybe one thing that we do about those 2 questions, well, okay, one of the questions, we certainly can make sure we talk to the sister organizations that we always find at the last minute are actually represented at the fair, but everybody might not know that, and get some information that we can give people if we wind up in conversation with them about those subjects. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, excellent. Well, I would say that this is great and that I will send these notes to the full CSW and we can sort of hone this in July, but that this is that we have a plan.
And if you're not going to be at the meeting in July, maybe Jinder and Jax as your co-chairs can facilitate the discussion and the finalization.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. And we'll get our fearless chair, Caroline, on the making the table have beautiful goodies, which no one does better than she does. And we have our banner. And Courtney, so if there is any paperwork we need to fill out, I'm happy to do that. But that's usually later, right?
Yes, yes. She already knows that you guys are going to participate, so she has me on there so that when she starts the dialogue in meetings, I'll be attending and giving you the information.
Okay, thank you so much.
And Courtney, the other thing that's helpful is the layout of where the other organizations will be around the floor. So if we need to direct somebody somewhere, we have that info. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, although we can sort of get that because there's always like some dead time as we're setting up. But of course, this is easy for me to say because I won't be there. Because if the inside doesn't open until I feel like it's like 4:00 on Friday, and they always want you to come set up, like Wednesday or Thursday. So in the past, there has been plenty of time. And it may even be that I can do some of the setup before I head out to California.
Arbor, it wouldn't hurt to start the schedule at our June meeting, maybe get some people committed to some times. If you want to build a framework, we can start to get it filled in.
Yeah, so available for fair. I'm going to write right now. Jinder, Jax. So Adriana, I'm so happy to have you here. Are you thinking of joining the commission?
Yes, I submitted an application.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Okay.
Yes.
And
Oh, fantastic.
yeah.
Yay.
Do you
I'm
know if
excited.
you will be around during the fair, which is the 14th? Oh, no, wait. Yeah, 15th, 16th, 17th.
Is it, I can't remember, is it June or July? We always look forward to,
August.
but
August.
oh,
It's
August. Okay, yes,
Yeah.
we will be available. I will be available.
Amazing. Okay. Um, okay, I'm writing that down. And then Helen is available Friday and Sunday. And, okay, cool. And I think was it Grace who also said she was available?
I don't remember.
Yeah, okay. Okay. All right. I'll send this all around at some point before June's meeting. Let's see. All right. And Helen, are you a member or you're just participating as a guest?
No, I'm thinking of applying, but I'm not
Okay.
a member yet.
Okay. Okay. Cool. There's nothing that says you have to be a member before you work at our table at the fair. So
Yay.
so we're very, very happy to have people, especially, folks who have been involved with this. Okay, yay. Thank you so much for being here on a Thursday night. And yeah, that's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a
Arbor,
great
I had
evening.
one question.
Yep.